If creativity was like cooking, we could just open up a cookbook, find a recipe, and make the thing. But creativity isn't like cooking, although cooking is very creative. If you struggle getting things done and figuring out the next step, one thing that you can do is to make your own recipe. Think about that. A lot of famous chefs, cooks, and home bakers have very successfully made their own shows just by getting in front of a camera and cooking. That's a little bit how I feel thinking about my role in guiding you to be more creative. I used to call myself the creativity sensei, but recently I have embraced a previous title, the one that I use for Psychology Today, that being the Naked Creative. And yes, it is inspired by Jamie Oliver and The Naked Chef. The purpose of that show was to pull back the curtain on cooking, culinary arts. Jamie helped people understand that cooking need not be all that mysterious. If you follow some simple guidelines, you should have success. So, let's dive in. You want to be more creative. You want to get more things done. One hang-up can be you have a lot of different projects. Outsiders might look at your craft room, your dining room table, your entry space, your desk, and say, you're trying to do too much. Just pick one thing. But I know if I was having friends over for dinner, I wouldn't just serve them a bowl of carrots. Nay, I would want to give them the full experience representing my cooking skills. Maybe we're going to start with charcuterie, something I really kind of love. And then we might move on to a tasty appetizer or a salad, followed by the entree. And the entree would not just be a protein. It would probably be complemented with a starch, a vegetable, maybe two, a sauce, gravy, something that kind of pulls it all together. This would likely be followed by dessert and maybe coffee or tea. Why should your creativity be any different? You probably have a lot of different interests. Myself, I enjoy writing, creating visual art in a lot of different media. I love to listen to music, and while I would consider myself a rank amateur in making music, I think my love of music qualifies as an auditory experience. I enjoy walking in nature as I am right now. I also love cooking. Finally, fiber art. I would also enjoy getting involved in some of the industrial arts, like metalwork and carpentry. Maybe one day I will. I find that it can be very helpful when I'm starting a project to first, yes, get excited about that project, and next, write down some of the steps involved. And those steps can also include the resources that I would need in order to complete it. Does that sound a little bit like a recipe? I hope so. The next time that you're trying to figure out the best way to get started or to continue, take out a pen and paper, open up a Word document, and I like to use Procreate for notes like this. Write down, centered, bold, top of the page, the name of the thing that you're working on. Just like you wouldn't want a cookbook to have a bunch of recipes named untitled document or left completely blank. Below that, write out a list of the resources that you need. And here, just like recipes often include proportions, measures, weights, maybe give some idea of how much of those resources you need. For example, in fiber arts, I might say how many yards of a certain width of fabric are necessary. So we have the name of the recipe, we have the ingredients, and next you want a list of steps. Many recipes are going to break those steps down into prep. What do they call that? A mise en place? Where you prepare the ingredients. Could be chopping, could be measuring, weighing. Often, those chefs on YouTube and the Food Network or any of the other places where we watch videos about cooking, they'll be laid out in little glass bowls. How can you do that for your project? How can you organize those ingredients? And after that, after you have prepared, then think about the simple steps to pull all of these resources together. Will it be cutting? Will it be digging? Thinking of environmental arts here and gardening or planting seeds. How much? How long? How often? All of that goes into the steps. And finally, a recipe will tell you a baking temperature, a stovetop setting, or other ways to finish. Could simply be whipping, beating for a certain amount of time, putting something into the freezer. For your project, how long and where is that finishing? What is the temperature? The next time that you're puzzled by that mound of projects, maybe sitting in the closet, maybe gathered on a kitchen counter, and you're afraid what your friends and neighbors and family are going to say, just pick one thing. Begin, yes, with one thing. Write out the recipe for that one thing. But remember my dinner party. I'm not just going to serve a bowl of carrots. We, as creative spirits, we often have multiple interests. And giving up one, despite all the others, just does not feel natural for us. You're writing a cookbook. Your cookbook can be divided: breakfast, lunch, dinner. Or it could be sweets, savory, sauces. Or it could be very comprehensive, like The Joy of Cooking, or my mother's old encyclopedia of cookery. I think it was published in 1941, and it is about 4 inches thick on the spine. And while some of the recipes there can seem pretty archaic today, it still is a gold mine. You're writing your own cookbook. There's a place for every art form that you enjoy. Begin today. A bientôt.